The attic smells of dust and pine, the kind of air that hasn't moved for half a century. I lift the lid of an old trunk, its hinges sighing as if they remember too much. Inside, there's a faded shawl folded with care, its threads thin as breath. And beneath it, an envelope, yellowed at the edges, tied with a frayed blue ribbon. The name on the front has almost vanished, but under the trembling light from the small attic window, I can still read one word. Son. This is Mother's Lost War Letters, where we open forgotten words written in the darkest days of war, between mothers and sons who never got to hear each other in time. These are not stories of battles or victories, but of voices that waited too long in silence. Tonight I'm holding one of those voices, a letter written by a mother on the eve of her village's occupation, meant for her teenage son who had been taken away for safety. He never read it. No one did. Until now. The paper is delicate, cold to the touch, and smells faintly of soap and candle wax. When I turn it over, a small dried petal falls onto my hand, pressed between the folds, maybe by accident, maybe as a sign. I can almost picture her at the kitchen table, the siren echoing outside, a single candle burning low, her hands trembling as she wrote his name one last time. Someone in this family lived an entire life without knowing what's written here, and what lies in these pages might change everything they believed about her disappearance, about the night she vanished when the German army arrived. If you're the kind of person who carries the voices of others in your heart, please like this video and subscribe to Mother's Lost War Letters so that these stories, these words they never got to hear in time, are never forgotten again. The ink has bled in places. The signature is almost gone. I unfold the fragile paper, careful not to tear it. The light flickers. For a moment, it feels like the whole house is holding its breath. Tonight, we finally read what she never got to say in time. The attic is quiet except for the faint ticking of an old clock somewhere below. I lay the letter on the table beside me, smooth the creases with my fingertips, and begin to read. The handwriting is slanted, patient, each loop and curve heavy with hesitation, as if she had rewritten every word in her head before letting the ink touch the page. My dear Thomas, it's late, and I should be asleep, but I can't rest knowing that tomorrow everything will change. I can hear the church bells striking 9. They sound different tonight, slower, as if they, too, are afraid of what's coming. I lit the candle by the window like I promised you I would. The wax runs unevenly, and it makes little rivers down to the plate, the same way tears fall when I try not to cry. They said the soldiers might arrive by morning. The baker's boy passed by earlier, shouting something about the German convoy crossing the river. Mrs. Devereaux next door hid her silver in the well. Everyone is pretending to be calm, but we all move as if the ground beneath us has already cracked. I washed your uniform again, even though you're not here to wear it. The smell of soap fills the kitchen, sharp and clean, and for a moment it felt like you had just stepped out, like you'd come back through the door asking for supper. I left your plate on the table, and I can't make myself put it away. The stew is cold now, but I'll warm it again in the morning just in case. Her words seem to tremble on the page, and I imagine her sitting in that small kitchen, the one I know only from old photos. There's probably a draft coming in through the window, making the flame dance. Somewhere outside, the wind moves through the empty street, carrying the faint metallic sound of boots far away. She continues. I remember the first time you tried to button your coat all by yourself. You were 4. It took you so long, and you wouldn't let me help. You said, "I can do it, Mama," and you smiled when you got it right. You never liked to be small even then. That stubbornness will save you, I think. Keep it close, my love, but don't let it harden you. The world can take so much from us, but if you let it, it will take your gentleness too. Promise me you'll guard that part of yourself. The candle flickers in my mind as I read, and I can see her bending over the page, the ink pooling slightly at the end of each word. Her tone shifts, tender, but laced with something else, a quiet urgency. Your father's watch stopped this afternoon. It hasn't stopped in 20 years. I wound it, I tapped it, but the hands won't move. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's everything. I don't know. Still, I've placed it beside your photograph on the mantle, so that time will keep you close, even if the clock won't. There's a smudge where her pen hesitated, or perhaps where a tear fell. Outside, I imagine the night growing colder, the shutters closed tight, the room shrinking around her as she tries to keep writing. I made you a small bundle, the scarf you liked, a piece of bread, and the St. Christopher medal from the drawer. If someone gives you this letter, you'll find them tucked together. I don't know if they'll reach you, Thomas. The post is slow, and they say soldiers are stopping the trains again. But I'll trust the road to carry my words where I cannot go. She ends that page there. The ink fades toward the edge, as if the candle went out before she could finish her thought. I turn the page slowly. On the back, in smaller handwriting, she's added, almost whispering through time. If I cannot see you again, my son, know this, I am not afraid for myself. I'm only afraid that you'll never know how much you were loved. The clock downstairs strikes once, a hollow sound that echoes through the empty rooms. I fold my hands over the paper. For a moment, I can almost feel her warmth through it, faint but present, like the last trace of sunlight before dusk. Outside the attic window, a branch scratches softly against the glass. It sounds almost like someone knocking, gentle, hesitant, patient. I think of her there, in that quiet kitchen so many years ago, writing against time itself. The candlelight trembles on the old paper as I continue. The next page is thinner, the ink lighter, as though she wrote it after the candle had burned low. Her words breathe hope in every line, and yet between them I can feel the quiet panic of someone who already knows the morning may never come. My dearest Thomas, I keep thinking about all the things we planned. You said when the war ended, we'd build a little shop by the river. You'd carved the sign yourself, Benoit and Son. You wanted to sell watches and clocks, to fix the ones that had lost their rhythm. You said that every family should have something that keeps time right, so they'd never lose a single moment together again. I laughed when you said it. I told you time couldn't be tamed. But now I find myself clinging to that dream as if it could save us both. When the church bell rings at 6 each evening, I whisper your name once for every toll. It's my way of winding the clock until you come home. She pauses here, and I can imagine her resting the pen against her lips, thinking, perhaps hearing something outside, the faint hum of a passing truck, the faraway barking of a dog, the rhythmic wind pressing against the shutters. Then she continues, I've kept the garden going, though the soil is poor now. The cabbages grow small, but they grow. I planted marigolds by the fence because you said they looked like sunlight. They do. They remind me of the day you left, that bright yellow scarf around your neck, waving from the truck, your hand raised until I couldn't see you anymore. I stood there until the road was empty, until the only sound left was the cicadas and the distant hum of the train taking you away. The handwriting wavers slightly. The ink pools in one corner. She must have stopped to think, to breathe. I met Father Pierre yesterday. He asked if I wanted to confess. I told him I already had. To you every night in the dark. He smiled that sad smile of his. He brought me a candle from the church, blessed it himself. I lit it by your photograph. The wax dripped over the frame, and for a moment it looked as though you were standing in sunlight again. As I read, my eyes trace a faint circle drawn in the margin, a mark she must have made with her thumb as the ink dried, a print of her own presence. I realized she wasn't only writing for her son. She was writing to survive one more night, to remind herself she was still here. She writes on. I heard today that the trains are stopped near Rouen. Some say the bridge was damaged. Others say the Germans have taken it. I don't know which to believe. The postman hasn't come for 3 days. If this letter ever finds you, it will be a miracle. But I'll keep writing. It's all I have left to give. Her words grow smaller, tighter, as if she's running out of space, out of light, out of time. I dreamed of you last night. You were sitting at the table, taller now, older, your hair darker. You laughed, the same laugh you had when you were 10 and dropped the eggs on the kitchen floor. I woke up with the sound of it still in my ears. For a moment I thought you were in the next room. The imagery pulls me inward. The small house, the ticking of the stopped watch on the mantel, the shadow of a woman who refuses to stop believing in a future she will never see. Her final lines on this page carry a fragile hope that makes my chest ache. When this war is over, Thomas, I'll bake your favorite bread again, the one with raisins and honey. We'll sit by the window and count the ships on the river like we used to. And when the church bells ring, we'll say nothing. We'll just listen. Because silence will mean peace has come at last. There's a faint outline at the bottom of the page, like the corner of another sheet pressed underneath it once before. A ghost imprint of her handwriting. It repeats one word. Home. I pause, tracing it with my thumb, realizing that this small mark might be all that's left of her dream. The house is quiet around me. I hear the creak of the floorboard behind me, as if someone had stepped there once before. Maybe her, years ago, hiding the letter away. I whisper into the still air, not sure who I'm speaking to anymore. She really thought he'd come back. The paper trembles slightly in my hands, but it's not from the wind. The next page is darker, as if the ink had been mixed with ash. It feels heavier between my fingers, carrying the weight of what she already feared but refused to say aloud. The handwriting is shakier now, and every line feels like a heartbeat trying not to stop. My dear boy, it's raining tonight. A thin, cold rain that seeps through the shutters and makes the walls smell of stone. The soldiers' boots echoed in the street this afternoon, not ours. The whole village went silent, as if holding its breath. The baker closed early. The church doors are locked. Even the pigeons have gone from the square. Only the sound of the wind remains, rattling the loose tin on the roof. I sat by the window for hours. I'm waiting for the postman, though I know he won't come. I just wanted to see someone, anyone, carrying a letter, even if it wasn't for me. I can almost hear her whisper those words to herself, staring through glass streaked with rain, tracing each droplet like it could carry a message back to him. She continues, the rhythm of her thoughts slowing, stretching between each word. Mrs. Moreau came by today. She brought me half a loaf of bread and some milk. She said her eldest hasn't written in 6 months. She hides his uniform in a trunk under her bed. She told me she prays over it every night, as if it were his body. I didn't know what to say. I told her I still hear your voice when I wake. Maybe that's my prayer. Little Jeanette from the corner house was playing in the rain. She had a wooden toy horse, one leg missing, dragging it through puddles. She waved at me and said she was making it march to the front like her brother. She doesn't understand what that means yet. God, let her stay that way a little longer. The candlelight must have dimmed then, because her next sentences tilt downward, the pen scratching deeper into the paper. They say there was fighting near the bridge this morning. Smoke from the valley drifted here by noon. The air smelled of gunpowder and wet earth. I saw the reflection of flames in the puddles by the garden gate. For a moment I thought it was sunlight. I almost smiled. Her attempt at hope pierces more deeply than despair could. I've started keeping your things in the cupboard by the stairs. Your school books, your scarf, the small wooden cross Father gave you at your first communion. I dust them every Sunday. It feels wrong to see them waiting there, so alive when the rest of the house grows quieter each day. The neighbors no longer sing in the evenings. Even the birds have forgotten their way home. There's a small blotch near the bottom. She must have dipped the pen too long. Or maybe her hand shook. The words bleed together. Still, I can make them out. Do you remember how you used to wind the clock for me each night? You said it was your job to keep time from falling asleep. I can still hear the click, the slow turn, the tick that followed. The house feels too still without it. I tried to wind it tonight, but it wouldn't move. Maybe it's tired too. The ink fades, then strengthens again, her resolve reawakening for one last stretch. I don't want you to think I'm frightened. I'm not. Fear is for the living, and I think I've become something else. Waiting between two worlds. Still cooking, still writing, but half gone already. I keep this candle burning because it feels like the only thing that connects me to you. The flame dances when I say your name. It's the closest thing to your heartbeat I have left. The room around me feels colder now, as if her memory itself draws the heat away. Outside, the wind brushes the attic window again, and for a second it sounds like rain tapping on glass, the same rhythm she described. I turn the page, and the tone shifts once more. There's a single line written smaller than the rest, at an angle, almost as if she didn't intend for anyone to read it. They are coming tonight. The words are underlined once. Beneath them, the ink trails off into a blur, like her hand was pulled away mid-stroke. I sit back, the sound of my own breathing too loud in the silence. Downstairs, the old clock that hasn't worked in years gives a faint click, as if a single gear had just turned. The fifth page feels different beneath my fingertips. Thicker, uneven, as though it had been torn from another notebook. The ink is darker here, heavier, soaked deep into the paper. The candle must have been burning low when she wrote it. The edges are browned, a faint scent of smoke clinging even after all these years. My dear Thomas, if this letter ever reaches you, know that tonight the church bells didn't ring. The soldiers came through the square at dusk. I watched from behind the curtain as their boots struck the cobblestones in rhythm, a cruel sort of music that made the glasses on the shelf tremble. They carried torches, shouting orders I couldn't understand. The smell of kerosene still lingers in the street. I'm writing quickly now, by the dim light of the kitchen lamp. The candle has nearly burned to its end. There is news that the families in the northern quarter are being moved for their safety. No one believes that. Oh, one. Mrs. Devereux says they take people away at night and the houses stand empty by morning. Her lines are close together now, written without space to breathe, words pressing against each other like hands gripping in fear. I thought about leaving. I packed a small suitcase, the one you use for school. Inside, I placed your photograph, the St. Christopher medal, and the letter you wrote me before you left for the camp. But then I heard a knock at the door. Gentle, like someone afraid of being heard. It was Father Pierre. He said the soldiers were checking every house on this street. He told me to hide anything that could link me to the resistance. I told him I wasn't part of it. He looked at me for a long time and said, "We are all part of it now." Then he left. I don't know if I'll see him again. She continues, slower now, her exhaustion pouring through the words. I have hidden this letter inside your father's old coat. It has a lining loose at the hem. If they come for me tonight, maybe they'll overlook it. Maybe one day someone will find it there. If that someone is you, my son, forgive me for what I must do. Her pen seems to have hovered there. A small dot of ink marks the hesitation. The place where sought turns into confession. The rumor is that the train will leave tomorrow from the Eastern Station. They say it's for the workers that will be relocated to help with the rebuilding. But I heard whispers that no one comes back. I cannot leave the village. I cannot risk them finding the others. Father Pierre gave me a name to use, a new one. He said it might keep me safe. But I will not lie about who I am. My name is still the one you called in your sleep when you were small. And if they take me for it, then so be it. Her courage humbles me even now, decades later, just reading her trembling handwriting. I want you to know, Thomas, that I did not disappear. I chose to stay so you could leave. I made a bargain I cannot explain here. But it means you will be safe. You, and the truth of who you are. If you ever learn what happened, do not hate the ones who told you I ran away. It was the only way to keep you alive. The ink trails downward. Her hand must have been shaking. I kept your father's watch by the window tonight. It ticked once, only once, and then stopped again. I think it knew. Time is stopping for me, but not for you. That's how it should be. I stop reading for a moment. The attic feels small, suffocating. The rain that began earlier now taps steadily against the roof. It sounds like her handwriting, frantic, determined, fading. I turn the page and find the last of her words for that night. When they come, I will tell them I am alone. I will give them bread and keep my head bowed. I will not let them see the fear. You must not feel guilty for what I choose. Remember me as I was the morning you left. My hands still warm from kneading dough, the smell of rosemary in the air, your laughter at the gate. Remember that I was not broken yet. At the very bottom, a line is written sideways, almost hidden in the fold. If I cannot come back, light a candle on the first Sunday after the war ends. I will find you in the light. I read the words again and again until they blur. The ink seems to pulse, like a heartbeat frozen in paper. Downstairs, the clock gives another faint click. 2 this time, though its hands haven't moved in 50 years. The final sheet is torn unevenly, its corners singed. The ink has seeped through in places, leaving faint shadows of her words on the back, like echoes trapped in the paper. My hands tremble as I lift it. The candle beside me flickers, the flame pulling towards the page, as if drawn to the warmth that still lingers there. My beloved Thomas, the house is quiet now. Too quiet. I can hear the rain turning to snow outside, soft, slow, like the sky has run out of strength to keep falling. I think of you somewhere, under this same sky, and I pray the snow reaches you gently. I imagine it landing on your shoulders the way it used to on our doorstep, silent, forgiving. The soldiers are near. I can hear them in the square. Voices shouting, boots scraping, doors slamming open and shut. Each sound feels like it's inside my chest. Still, I keep writing. It's all I have left that belongs to me. Her pen strokes change here, longer and looser, as though she's writing faster now, racing against the inevitable. I've lit the last candle, the one blessed by Father Pierre. Its flame is small but steady. The window rattles with every gust, but the candle doesn't waver. Maybe that's a sign that faith can stand even when everything else trembles. I'm leaving this letter here on the table beneath your photograph. If they burn the house, maybe the fire will carry my words to you. Her words take a softer turn, intimate, nearly tender. Do you remember the story I used to tell you when you were little? About the mother bird who built her nest on the roof, and every time the wind tore it apart, she began again. You would laugh and say, "She's stubborn like you, Mama." I never told you how that story ended. One day the nest stayed empty, but the sky above it was filled with birds she had raised. That's how I want you to think of me. Not as gone, but as part of whatever keeps you alive. The ink bleeds slightly where she pressed harder, as if the emotion could no longer fit inside the lines. Promise me, Thomas, you'll never let bitterness grow where love once lived. It is easy to hate what takes from us, but hate makes the heart small. You were meant for more. Carry kindness like your father carried that watch, close to the pulse. Let it remind you that time moves forward, even when we cannot. The next paragraph trails upward, like her hand lifted mid-sentence. "If you ever have a son, tell him I was brave once. Tell him I kept the window open even when I was told to lock it. Tell him I believed the world could begin again." I can almost hear her whispering those last lines, her breath catching, the candlelight trembling against the kitchen wall. There is someone knocking now. I think they are at the door. The paper trembles under my hand. My pen has run dry, so I'll finish with what I still have, my voice, in silence. Whatever happens, remember this. I am not gone. I am waiting where light meets the quiet. The letter ends there. No signature, no farewell. Just a long line where the pen scratched deep, dragging across the page as if pulled away. I stare at that mark for a long time. It feels like a heartbeat that stopped halfway through a word. The attic seems to hold its breath with me. The candle flickers once more, then steadies. I notice something pressed between the last two sheets. A small blue ribbon, stiff with age. I touch it gently, and it leaves a trace of dust on my fingers. That ribbon must be the same she used to tie her hair in the photograph downstairs. I can almost see her turning, smiling faintly, unaware that time was already closing its hands around her. I look down at the last sentence again. I am waiting where light meets the quiet. Her words fall into the silence like prayer. I don't move. Outside, the snow keeps falling, covering the roof, the trees, the world. Somewhere deep in the house, the clock ticks once more, soft, reluctant, alive. The attic is still. The candle has melted into a pool of wax, its flame barely clinging to the wick. I place the last page of the letter down, careful not to breathe too hard. For a long moment I just listen, to the faint wind pressing against the window, to the heartbeat of the house, to the memory that lingers in this air. It's strange to think that these words have been here, waiting through 50 winters. They were written in 1944, on the night before the occupation. The German soldiers entered the village at dawn. According to the local records, several homes were burned that day, including hers. The family was told she fled. No one ever found proof otherwise. Until now. The trunk where I found the letter belonged to her son, Thomas. He kept it sealed all his life. When he died, the attic was cleared by his grandson, who thought it was just old clothes and photographs. The letter was hidden in the lining of a gray wool coat, the one she mentioned. The threads had loosened with time, and the envelope had slipped deeper inside, pressed against the fabric like a heartbeat waiting to be heard. There's something unbearably human about that. How love can stay hidden inside an ordinary thing, waiting for the right hands to open it. The coat itself was almost thrown away. The grandson said it smelled of smoke and mothballs, useless to anyone now. But when he reached into the pocket to check, he felt the ribbon, that small blue ribbon she wrote about. It had hardened with age, but still held the faintest trace of lavender. That's when he saw the envelope. Her handwriting survived the decades. The ink, though faded, stayed strong enough to be read. And through it, the truth surfaced. She hadn't abandoned her family. She had stayed to protect them. The lie they told, that she ran away, was her shield to keep them safe. For 50 years, the son carried the pain of believing his mother had left him. He became quiet. Distant, a man of few words. He married, raised children, but never spoke about her again. The family said he had turned cold. But after reading this letter, we understand. He was guarding an empty space that had never been given the truth it deserved. When his grandson read her words for the first time, he said the house felt different, as if someone had finally exhaled after a lifetime of holding breath. He took the letter to the church, lit a candle, and placed it by the old stone altar where she used to pray. The blue ribbon now rests there, tied gently around the candle's base. The watch she mentioned, the one that kept stopping, was found too. It sits beside the letter, its hands frozen at midnight. The glass is cracked, but when I hold it close, I swear I can hear the faintest tick, as if time itself remembers her. I fold the letter once more, sliding it carefully back into its envelope. The edges crumble slightly, but the words remain whole. Down below, the snow has stopped. The world outside is pale, silent, untouched, like the pause between heartbeats. I imagine her at that last moment, candlelight flickering, the sound of boots drawing near, her voice steady as she finished her sentence. I am waiting where light meets the quiet. Maybe she was right. Maybe love never disappears. It only changes rooms. I blow out the candle and the smoke curls upward, soft and silver. The air smells of wax and paper and something sweet, faint lavender carried across half a century. If you felt something while listening, if her words found a place inside you, please like this video and subscribe to Mother's Lost War Letters.